The question why painting has so many answers, and in a way that's an answer in itself. It works for me in so many ways, and I still ask myself the question and come up with new answers to that. As a way of being in the world, it suits me very well as the person that I am. I can almost remember the time when when I first had that realization. I was 15 and I finished a painting, and when I got to the end of it, it was sort of clear to me then that this was something that I could do a lot and would want to do more of. And also at that time, I was seeing other artists work and finding that I was seeing things in their work that I really, really loved, and I loved finished paintings. If either I admired them and just left them in their paintings, or occasionally I would see things and I'd think, I can bring that into my life as well, and I can bring that into my painting. And so I was kind of on this kind of gathering mission. I didn't mean it to happen. It just appeared at that time in my life. And I suppose at that time in your life, you are thinking a little bit about, what will I do? How will the future be? My name is Ben Ravenscroft. I'm a painter and I live and work in South East London. When I left school, I studied initially in Hastings for a year, and then I was accepted at Goldsmiths College. Goldsmiths at the time had a spotlight on it, and it was producing artists that were becoming internationally recognized, and it was an exciting place to be. As a painter, it wasn't necessarily a comfortable place to be. You were going to have a tough day of talking with the other students that were there, but you could get through it. And then occasionally there were times when I would be doing a day of drawing. I drew quite a lot, and some of the students there would say fascinating things to me, like, I wish I could draw. And I was thinking, can you not? And for the first time then, it became apparent to me that an artist wasn't just what I was. There were lots of different kinds of artists around, and some of them couldn't even draw, and they didn't mind. And they weren't trying to draw. They were doing something else completely. And so the fact that what you were doing was never easily accepted, whoever you were, was quite challenging, but actually really, really good, because it meant you kind of had to go to work every day, and that's what you're there to do. And sometimes, you could have a difficult day, but they turned out to be a really good bunch of people. And actually almost took the 3 years that I was there to find that out. There was a print workshop there where you could go and do etchings and screen prints or whatever. And that was a really important time. I didn't know it at the time. I enjoyed being there. And all that build up of information is present, but you're getting it in one go. It's a hit, and I enjoyed that. And I enjoyed the physical nature of the etching plates. Yeah. And that was to become kind of important later on. I wasn't planning it, but it kind of fed into painting. I left printing and took elements of that into the paintings. question of communicating with a painting, it comes up a lot. And when you're talking with people, very often they'll say, what is this painting about? And it's a perfectly valid question. But the most important thing for me is that a painting is doing something rather than saying something. It can only say something if it is doing the right thing for that painting. So the question then changes. How do I make the painting do what I want it to do? And then you've got the conversation between you and the painting. And it feels like sometimes like there's a resistance there, and you're kind of like, you're trying to make something happen. But the painting isn't being unhelpful. It actually also wants to come out as well. So there's a sort of back and forth going on, which is a very interesting feeling. It makes a day feel like no other day when that's going on. Very often with the panels I'm working on, and this goes back to the print studio, surface is engraved, and I will spend time engraving that surface. It's not a lot of time, but in doing that, I'm starting painting because I'm getting myself in the place where that painting is going to happen. I had a conversation years ago with Richard Long, and he said that before he puts a sculpture in a space, he sweeps the floor. Someone else will sweep the floor for Richard Long. They can make that happen, but he sweeps the floor because then he's getting to know the space that he's going into. And while I'm engraving that panel, I'm getting to know the space that I'm going into, and I'm building up to the first moves that are going to make the painting happen. And then by the time I've got that surface, which is very particular for what I'm wanting to do, I've kind of worked out my first move. I haven't got the finished painting in mind, but I've got the first move that is going to make the painting go. In fact, actually, I might have a finished painting in mind, but what I know is that that's not going to be the painting that happens. Something is going to happen, and I want that thing to happen. It's going to make it into a different, particular painting. There have been, over the years, bodies of work, small groups of paintings that I've finished. And each time they've happened, I've kind of, curiosity has taken me on to the next thing. And I've started on a new body of work. And it is subtly different or has been triggered by something that has happened in the painting that I've just done or the painting before that. So things moved along, and I've now got enough of those moments that I have realized recently that though each of those moments are mine, they belong to me, and I kind of miss some of them. Is I miss some of them the right way? But I want to revisit them. And it's not a step backwards. It's just because I'm intrigued by them again. And there's unfinished business there. And they do belong to me. And I can use everything that I've got and have built up over time to work on again with a new understanding. And which is nice because it's fuel for new paintings. But it's not simply making the same painting again, which is never the right thing to do. No matter what I say about my work, and some people They say a lot and they're particularly good at communicating verbally about their work. But one thing I've heard, and this came from John Thompson as well, and I do agree with, is that in the end you are left with the object. No matter what you say, in the end you are left with the painting. So ultimately, for this reason, it's really important to me that the painting is doing something. Because no matter how many words you bring, and you can, in the end, you are left with the painting, and that painting has to be doing something in order to say something.